One of Subaru's most iconic models is now entering its 7th generation, and it's getting more boxier, bolder, and more spacious than ever before. We've been spending the week here with this 2026 Outback Wilderness to test out all of Subaru's latest new features, their new enhancements to their chassis, and new technology that we're seeing on the interior. But is this 2026 Outback too bold for some buyers and more traditional wagon lovers that are more accustomed to that more reserved Outback look? Or is this really playing into its more SUV-esque nature now that the Outback has been growing over the past decade? Of course, we're going to dive into all of that in this video today, and of course, I'm going to take you on a full in-depth tour and review of this 2026 Subaru Outback Wilderness. We're going to show you all the cool features, some of the features we don't like too much, and some areas where I think this Outback could still improve, especially for its now near $50,000 as tested price that this particular Outback Wilderness is coming in at. Let's go dive in. So popping open the hood of the 2026 Outback Wilderness, you're going to notice a few things off the bat. The hood opens quite differently than typical Subarus. We actually have it almost integrated now into this very bold front grille, which we'll get to in a little bit. And you're going to find some Easter eggs right under the hood already. You have these really cool, almost horizontally opposed pistons that say since 1966. And there's another Easter egg, which I believe is in Japanese, but I will have to translate that and let you know what that says. But otherwise, we have a very familiar engine here. This is the 2.4 liter turbocharged flat 4 engine that we're very accustomed to in the Subaru lineup. It is offered in vehicles such as this Outback, as well as the Ascent and the Subaru WRX. Now, I think this is a great engine choice in the Subaru lineup. I think it's a little bit better, more responsive and more refined overall than their naturally aspirated versions. And in this case, it's making 260 horsepower, 277 pound-feet of torque, routed through that typical high torque, continuously variable transmission that we find on the Wilderness trims of Subaru models. And in this case, it has been kind of retuned just a little bit for this latest model year, and we do have a sort of simulated kind of low range style mode it can kind of do in certain X modes that Subaru has. And we also are getting a shorter final drive ratio, just a little bit shorter than a regular Outback. This vehicle can also tow around 3,500 pounds, and it's pretty light as well. It's just right around 4,000-ish pounds, which in this modern day and age is actually still pretty light. And with Subaru's flat engines, they are pretty mounted low in the engine bay and pretty far back as well. Now, one of the biggest conversations with the 2026 Outback is the new design. And over the course of this week, it's definitely been interesting to look at all the time. You could definitely see the similarity in this particular Wilderness trim with the Crosstrek Wilderness as well. That also has a very bold fascia. I think right now, the Forester Wilderness may be my best looking option out of the Wilderness bunch, but the regular Outback itself also is a pretty bold looking vehicle, and that's largely due to Subaru making it a little bit more boxier and rugged than what we've traditionally seen in the Outback's heritage. And they've really gone to the full extent here on the particular Wilderness trim with this design. And we have a very bold front grille, big Subaru spelled out up front here, which is pretty interesting. And we're having just a lot of chunky black plastic. And now, of course, Subaru is going to say this is all for ruggedness. It's easier to wear and scratch if you are taking it off like in a trail or in those types of conditions, but it's definitely not for everyone. Now, this is the really bold geyser blue paint finish here. There are quite a few different colors you can get on this Outback Wilderness. And we're also getting throughout the whole new Outback lineup split headlight design here. So we have a upper LED portion, daytime running lamp over here. Our main projector beams are located down here. And we have our signature on the Outback trim, these cool kind of star-shaped fog lights that are LED as well, wrapped in this really unique Wilderness style kind of gold bronze trim we have there as well. All Wilderness models are also getting a hood graphic over here, which is meant to be reducing sun glare. And you can even see this more boxier-esque shape on the hood even as well. It's very muscular and flared out. Coming down to the lower area over here, more of this rugged material here. Subaru has said that the approach departure and breakover angles are better than the last generation Outback Wilderness. It appears to have some sort of mild scuff plating underneath here as well, which is really nice. And overall, you're definitely never going to mistake this for anything else other than a Subaru. And if you're comparing this to some of its competitors, such as a Honda CR-V Trail Sport or a RAV4 Woodlands, or even the Nissan Rogue Rock Creek, the Outback is going to offer you the most, I would say, out of those vehicles in terms of off-road readiness. And that aspect, those are a little bit more on-road style vehicles. I think this one definitely can do a little bit more. It has the looks, it has a little bit more of the underpinnings as well. Joining me over here in the wheel and tire area, this is an area that's also very boxy and bold as well. As you can see, the wheel arches themselves are kind of squared off now. We also have this sort of passive venting across the side of the vehicle, and then we come to our unique 17-inch black wheels that we get on the Outback Wilderness trims and our Outback Wilderness specific Bridgestone Dueler all-terrain rubber here. This is a very skinny tire actually. It's 225/65 R17s on this particular vehicle here. I think they could have gone a little bit more of a slightly wider tire. I think that would have been nice, as well as a little bit more of a capable tire for this Outback Wilderness trim with all of the crazy bold body cladding and all these features Subaru is throwing into this vehicle. I think they could have gone a little bit more above and beyond, or at least offered some sort of like maybe Wilderness Pro trim where buyers could get something a little bit more aggressive from the factory. They have made a lot of improvements in the suspension department, specifically with this all new electronic adaptive damping system that we're finding on this Outback Wilderness. It helps to almost eliminate body roll in some situations. You still notice it just a little bit, but it's definitely more planted and more confident in its handling capabilities than the last generation Outback Wilderness. And even with 9.5 inches of ground clearance, which is really impressive, it actually does handle itself generally pretty well and very smooth across all forms of pavement, which you probably will be doing with your Outback Wilderness. Joining me on the side of this Outback Wilderness, you can still kind of see the wagon-esque roots of the Subaru Outback and the side profile of this vehicle, but there's just so much going on here we have to talk about it. So we're getting these black plastic mirrors over here with a turn signal repeater integrated, and you're going to get this really chunky side trim over here that says Outback in it. And this is really where you can see how big the Outback has gotten for this generation. It is really big. It's taller, it's wider, it's boxier. All that stuff is really contributing to this more enhanced look that Subaru is saying their customers want. But what really is cool about the Outback Wilderness is you're getting quite a lot of great features, such as these roof rails up here, which can hold quite a lot of static weight. So if you want to put like a tent or something on top, if you're out on a trail, that is definitely possible here. We have this, again, really unique bronzish gold accents over here for our access points on our roof rack. And just overall, the side profile is definitely more bolder than it was before. We have our Wilderness badge right on this side pillar over here that kind of has this sort of floating-esque roofline design element to here as well. And you're going to see we have more unique stuff going on the back of this Outback Wilderness. And if you thought the front end wasn't bold enough, the rear is also pretty bold on the Outback Wilderness. And actually, Subaru is really going to really extensive lengths here for this new generation to differentiate this model versus other Subaru Outbacks. So the whole rear end is pretty much entirely different than a regular 7th generation Outback. Those models will get almost like a light bar-esque design. This completely eliminates that, and then instead we get these really unique integrated lights over here, again with that unique Wilderness-specific trim design. We have a Outback spelled out down here, a really bold Subaru spelled out in our lower bumper area. Still we get the Subaru badge, and again, a lot more unique design elements all throughout here that make it look a little bit more rugged. Coming down to the lower portion over here, we're going to find integrated parking sensors in the rear. We don't actually get parking sensors in the front of the Outback though, and we do have dual exhaust ports over here for our 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, and we're also getting a full-size spare in this Outback Wilderness, which is actually a very nice feature to have. And opening up our rear tailgate over here, we do have a power tailgate on this particular Outback Wilderness. We're getting a crazy amount of trunk space still, and that is where the Outback still shines quite a lot. Now, Subaru is claiming that we are getting 34.6 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row. Fold that second row down. This is going to expand to like 80 cubic feet of cargo space. So this is why you're going to want to go for an Outback over a Forester, for example, in the Subaru lineup. You really do get quite a lot of rear space here. And to me, visually, it looks like they've actually enhanced this opening as well for the Outback. So we have a really low load floor over here if you want to have your pets jump in, or if you are carrying large boxes or suitcases, it's easier to load those in the back of your vehicle as well, which is nice. We're getting this really rugged rubber floor mat as well back here to help, make things easier to clean. And there's a lot of fun Easter eggs. I can already find some Easter eggs right looking through this glass up here on the upper spoiler section, which is really cool. We have a Subaru logo out back here and these really bright LED lights mounted on the top of this trunk area over here to make seeing things in the back a little bit easier. This is an interesting trunk cover though. It's almost like a tent, and it has a whole bunch of these little magnets that kind of pop into place here, and you can open this up to get a little more access to your rear section over here. We are also getting a 12-volt socket in the back. I would have liked to have seen a household style outlet back here. That would have been really nice, but we're also finding our Harman Kardon speaker back here for our upgraded audio system, as well as latches to fold down our seats, which is really nice, but no power up back for our seats, unfortunately. Looking underneath this mat over here, we are going to find our full-size spare located right over here, so you don't have to go under the vehicle to get it. It's located in the trunk area, which is nice. But overall, this is one of the biggest benefits of the Subaru Outback here, is this really, really large trunk space, and the power operation, of course, is nice on this Outback Wilderness trim. Now, of course, let's go hop inside and check out what's new on the interior of this 2026 Outback. Okay, guys, let's hop inside of this 2026 Outback Wilderness. We have our traditional Subaru key fob here. Nothing has really changed in this department, which I think is fine. But coming on the interior of this Outback, this is a dramatically new space, and it's much larger than before, which is kind of crazy. So opening up our door over here, let's first unlock our vehicle. We have keyless access, which is nice. And then opening up our door over here, of course, we have privacy glass, which is really nice. What we also have is a huge, huge, huge door opening. Not a full 90-degree angles, but it is pretty large. And what I do like that Subaru does is that they actually put this trim on the door on the exterior of the door. So when you're exiting or entering the vehicle, your pant legs aren't going to get dirty on this area over here, which is quite nice. Hopping inside is pretty easy with such a large door opening over here. The door itself, and this is going to be a common theme on this interior, is a little bit sparse and just a whole bunch of variations of black plastic. So up here we have this sort of soft touch material, but it's generally kind of hard. This is a soft touch material over here, as well as on our armrest area. We have this kind of faux wood design trim over here, and then more rugged plastic materials in the lower portion of the door. And this is kind of cool, actually. All of the door cubbies are felt lined, so they don't bang around your cups or bottles in there, and they're really huge, which is nice. Let's hear our door thunk here. Pretty nice and solid. And I like all these cool, interesting texture designs Subaru does on their plastics, but there is a lot of plastic on this interior. Closing up the door here. Now, this is a really great part of this Outback, is just how large this rear seat is. It is huge. I have so much leg space. This is my driving position up front here. I have so much leg space. I can genuinely almost stretch out back here. It's that much leg space, which is really nice. And we have a lot of storage options as well. So on the back of the front driver's seat, we're actually getting a double layer, almost like tri-layer storage solution over here, which is really nice. Same thing for the passenger seat as well. In our center console area over here, we're going to find our air vent controls, as well as outboard heated seats, which are two-way heated seats, which is nice. USB-C, USB-A port, and nothing really else going on down here. We have a little bit of a hump in the floor for our all-wheel drive system, but we are still going to get some cup holders back here, so we can fold down our armrest over here, and we got two cup holders which have little grips in them, which is nice. And we have even a center headrest that can go up and down, which is also quite nice as well. And you're gonna note all of the stitching in this interior, or most of it, is contrasted in this kind of Outback Wilderness gold-esque trim here, which is kind of cool. Seats themselves are pretty comfortable and spacious. Really no issues here, actually, which is kind of nice. They also have a good scallop to them, so they don't feel like your legs are just floating up. And we are getting these really nice rugged floor mats in this vehicle as well, all-weather floor mats. That is what I would expect in a Wilderness trim, so that is also a nice touch here. Otherwise, there's not too much in terms of features back here. One thing that's a little disappointing is I wish that the Outback Wilderness or Outback in general would get a panoramic roof, but it does not. Let's go hop up front and see all the changes that Subaru has made on the front of this cabin. Hopping inside the front area, opening up our door card. Again, same materials we saw in the rear seats as well, so nothing too crazy there. Now, inside though, up front is definitely a lot of stuff we need to go over. So we have these really nice upgraded seats on this particular Outback Wilderness here. So we're getting power lumbar, as well as even a thigh extender support here, which I think is actually a really nice feature. And again, we're getting those nice rugged Outback Wilderness style floor mats over here, all weather floor mats, which are really nice. And these seats are actually pretty comfortable overall. These are the unique leather seats on this particular one, which is an upgraded package. Otherwise, you'll get StarTex material, which is a sort of faux leather. This one is pretty nice, though. We have this really cool contrasted stitching on here, Outback Subaru Wilderness logo on the headrest, which is nice. And let's hop inside. Closing up the door over here. Again, nice solid thunk, and check out this all new interior for the 2026 Subaru Outback lineup. So if you're coming from a 2025 or older Subaru Outback, or pretty much any other Subaru, you're going to notice how dramatically different this interior is for a Subaru these days here. So on the steering wheel front here, this part isn't too different. We've seen this Subaru steering wheel in pretty much almost every single model. For the Wilderness trim, we are getting a unique kind of accent piece over here, as well as unique stitching for the Wilderness vehicles, which is kind of cool. On the right-hand side over here, we have all of our eyesight controls, but this is now where we're going to find our X modes on the steering wheel here. Press this button, you'll see in the dash we have snow, dirt, as well as a deep snow and mud program as well for our X modes. There's only 2 in this particular vehicle. And on the left-hand side over here, we're going to find some more media controls. But the big thing is now we're getting this full digital cluster, and I honestly quite like it a lot. We saw this in the Subaru Forester Hybrid just a few months ago, and now we see it now throughout the Outback lineup here, and it's pretty cool in its operation actually. So we press this button here to cycle through the different gauge designs. So we have a more traditional regular circular view here. We can go to this navigation view here, and the great part about this navigation view here is you can use the inbuilt Subaru navigation system, or you can use your maps from either Apple Maps or Waze. All of that will appear right up here, which is pretty cool. And this left-hand panel over here is customizable. So we can go through a few different clusters over here, or you can kind of collapse it just a little bit, and that works in pretty much every screen. So even on this one here, I can bring it back up or collapse it and it goes away. And it's housed in this really interesting, very boxy style housing around it. Otherwise, it's a very Subaru interior. Lots of physical buttons, easy to use controls here. All great normal buttons over here for our window controls, memory seats on this one as well. Also easy controls for our interior dimmer switch, as well as our power trunk. And in the center console area over here, this is another huge change for this Outback, especially going on the outgoing model. We have more physical buttons actually over here. So we have a nice normal shifter over here with a manual mode as well. We're going to find a physical button on the steering wheel here for our heated steering wheel, which is nice. We do retain paddle shifters, which is also pretty cool. And in the center console area over here, we're getting this huge, and I mean huge, cup holders that are pretty deep and are spaced far apart, so you can fit really large cups with mugs or travel mugs in there. That will be perfectly fine in this all new Outback, which is really cool to see. They kind of reduced the gloss black to a little bit of a minimum. We have a little bit of it here. And here we're going to find some buttons for our auto stop start, as well as auto brake hold, traction control, and our camera systems, which are pretty good actually. We have a few camera systems on this Outback Wilderness here that you kind of cycle through with the button, or you can touch with the screen over here. Pretty crystal clear. I like this 360 view as well we have. What I really like is that we finally are getting back our physical climate control buttons here. So if you recall, on the last generation Outback and a lot of current Subarus, we have that giant center touchscreen display, which is not good. It's really slow, it's really outdated, and it houses all of our climate systems. But thankfully now these have been separated, which I really, really love. So we have just nice normal dials to change our temperature adjustment here, Nice, easy to use buttons to make different climate adjustments there, which is nice. And this particular one with its upgraded package is getting heated seats, 3-stage heating, and 3-stage ventilated front seats as well, which is really nice. We're also getting a wireless charger over here, which has this housing that has kept falling off this whole week, but I guess it's easy to clean if the stuff gets underneath it. We also have a power button to disable this, so if you want to use this as just storage, that's also something you can do. This housing, though, is actually quite nice because it does keep your phone in place. There's a little bit of a lip here, which is kind of cool. I do wish Subaru added a little bit of some padding over here, because this is just all hard plastic, and if you are someone who likes to rest your knee or something while you're driving on long trips, it could be a little bit rough, but it is pretty spacious over here, so I actually have quite a lot of space, and the side bolsters on the seat generally keep me nice and tidy in place over there. We do have a little storage cubby over here, which is nice, as well as a 12-volt socket over here, and a nice padded center armrest, which is actually quite nice. Opening this up, we're going to find a pretty deep center console storage area over here with some felt on the bottom, which I do like. And I really like this interesting kind of star pattern on the dash over here. It kind of adds a little bit of some flair to this otherwise generally quite dark and bland-ish interior. What is kind of cool, though, is this new little storage cubby they added in the Outbacks over here, which is really actually quite nice. And it integrates right above where our glove box area over here is, which is huge. I actually really like this cover for our owner's manual, which is kind of cool. But we do have a large glove box, which is cool, and it is still lockable with a key, which I do actually quite like a lot. Otherwise, the big feature of this interior is the all-new infotainment system here that we have. So this is a totally new infotainment system for Subaru. I've never seen it on another Subaru model, so this is the first time we're experiencing it here. And, you know, we review a lot of vehicles here on Allcarnews, and to me, this looks like a reskinned version of Toyota's latest navigation or infotainment system, and that's totally fine. I think it's a fine system, but I honestly think Subaru made it even better. We have this menu bar on the left over here. It's really quick to touch and respond, actually, which I really like, and it's pretty intuitive as well. So we have a widget views you can kind of adjust here. Go back to our home screen over here. We have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and you can just add some shortcuts if you need. It's really, really basic and simple. We do have driver profiles as well, which is nice. I believe there is a sensor camera or something up here that you can make that different adjustments to different driver profiles as well. We have built-in navigation system, which I don't particularly like. It's a TomTom based system here. It's a little bit on the older design, I would say. It works fine, but of course you can just use your phone projection system such as Apple CarPlay or Android Auto there. And I like how when you're in Apple CarPlay, for example, you can actually make it take up this entire display, which looks so cool. It's just huge. We do have to talk about one big elephant in the room here, and this car is $50,000 as tested, this Subaru Outback Wilderness, and I do not think this interior lives up to the $50,000 price tag. I'm sorry, Subaru. It's very utilitarian. Yes, there's a lot of storage spaces. The seats are comfortable. You do get heating and ventilating, but it's just some of the materials in here are a little bit, well, most of them are all just generally different shades of some sort of plastic material in here. I don't think visually that looks super nice for this price point. Yeah, you can go for an Outback Touring as well, which will be a little bit nicer. You can probably get like a tan interior or something, but I do wish it could have been a little bit nicer in here. And another gripe with this interior here is I do really wish they offered a larger panoramic or larger glass roof in the Outback. It just seems like a little bit of a missed opportunity here, especially with just how long this roof is. Up here, we are getting a very small eyeglass holder here. My sunglasses actually do not fit up here, which is interesting, but you do have that. We do also have some pretty nice bright interior LED lights. We have our Subaru safety network up here, which is great, and we do have some pretty large visors as well that do extend out with this little side piece over here, but it's not perfect, as you know, the overall piece does not roll out there, so you do have some areas that are not fully covered from the sun there, but otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty usable, durable space. The big points here is I love this digital cluster. It actually works fantastic. I hope every single Subaru will get this at some point. And I do like this infotainment system. It's really easy, simple to use, as well as the return to buttons. But let me know what you guys think of this interior in the comment section down below. Do you like it more or less than the previous generation Outback? I think overall, this is an improvement at the end of the day. Otherwise, let's go take this vehicle out on a drive and see how it is on the road. It is CVTing quite a bit right now, but otherwise, you know, this has been a relatively just generally comfortable and fine vehicle to drive around over the course of this week of testing. Coming to a stop here around town, We do have auto stop start on the vehicle. Let's see if it does it right now. We did just start it up, so it may not turn off. Maybe not right now, but we do have a button to disable that right there. I've always said that out of all the auto stop start systems that I experience on a day-to-day basis, I feel like Subaru's is, I hate to say this, but one of the most least refined, or at least least smooth systems. I wouldn't say least refined. Coming to a stop in some situations, it's just really rough and noticeable when you restart the vehicle, actually. So I have noticed that in a lot of Subaru vehicles and living with them for a large portion of my life. So that's just one thing you're gonna have to unfortunately deal with here, unless you go for one of their hybrid models, which is a Forester or Crosstrek non-wilderness. But this is the most powerful Subaru engine still, the 2.4 liter flat 4 these days, 260-ish horsepower, so it's pretty strong actually. And you know, we've always liked this powertrain on the channel. I think it's the best paired with the Subaru's Lineartronic CVT. This is the high torque application. We have a different final drive ratio on this Forester Wilderness here. Steering in typical Subaru fashion is light but direct, not particularly filled with any feel, but again, from driving Subarus, you do get really comfortable driving them, I think, confidently. They have a really nice point kind of style driving scenario there. You kind of point it in the position you want to go, just kind of mash the throttle, and it will somehow always get through it, whether it's, you know, through snow or dirt or something. That's what this all-wheel drive system really is meant to do at the end of the day. But what's really cool about this new Outback Wilderness is, I believe it's now the second application of Subaru's adaptive damping systems in the US market. I know it was on the WRX GT we had a few years ago. Now we have it on this Outback Wilderness. And there's no real way to actually go in the settings and adjust this. I believe it is adjusting itself depending on drive modes or weather conditions and stuff. But it does overall stiffen up the body control, but not the ride necessarily. Let's go up this hill real quick. So I've noticed this week, this car actually is generally pretty quick. The CVT itself, and this newest generation of it, does the simulated shifting more so when both the engine is warm and you are really just on it. Otherwise, it kind of, you know, just slides through its bands as a typical CVT would. And of course, you have those pre-selected manual mode gears if you would like to use as well. And I have to say, this adaptive damping system, you do definitely notice. And what I mean by that, controlled body motions, you know, I think the last Outback Wilderness was a little frumpy in its handling. You know, this one even has 9.5 inches of ground clearance, so that center of gravity has been raised up a bit. And with the, you know, the softer style off-road-esque suspension Subaru will, you know, attach to these Wilderness models, that car kind of felt a little bit too excessive with some of its body motions and roll in some on-road driving scenarios, which I think a lot of people will be driving these cars at the end of the day. This definitely fixes that quite a lot. It is noticeable. It feels a little bit more controlled overall, especially how it feels going around corners. You definitely feel more planted, which is actually quite nice. This is where I think this engine also comes into play. Getting onto the highway is pretty seamless with the amount of power this thing and torque this thing has readily available to you. Yeah, really strong power. You even get some turbo whooshes here and there from under the hood, which I kind of like. It's really quiet. You can't really have the radio on or anything, but you can hear them, which is cool. On the highway here, this car is pretty good. You know, Subarus have this reputation, unfortunately, for being a little bit louder on the interior with their noise, vibration, and harshness tones. You know, that's, you know, everything from vibration through like a steering wheel, through like the pedals, through like the center consoles, noise coming in throughout the body panels or the windows here. This one's actually generally pretty quiet on Subaru's front for that. We have Crosstreks in the family. They're great cars, but I won't lie, they are pretty loud on the highway. This one actually is generally pretty quiet. I would hope so. It's a top trim, a Subaru Outback, one of their higher end-ish models within the Subaru family here, and I think they did a good job with that. You do still get a lot of wind noise, I would say, and I do hear some tire noise coming throughout the wheel arches there, but it's really nothing out of the ordinary. So that's really quite nice. It's overall pretty muted. I would say it's around on par what I remember hearing in the Kia Sportage X Pro Prestige that we had, which is a similar-ish vehicle, not as extreme as this Outback actually, but similar priced and range sized vehicle here. What's also great on the highway here is, again, we have all of Subaru's really wonderful safety systems. So those include our full eyesight Subaru safety suite that we get on the car. And what that enables us to do is to have, again, radar adaptive cruise control, steering assist, and all of those great things. And all of that is really easily accessible to you on the right-hand side of our steering wheel right here. So all I have to do is press this cruise control button here, press set, and we can turn on and off our lane centering and steering assist right here as well. And you're gonna notice here, I'm not sure if this is coming across on camera, it says hands on right there with the steering assist. That's because this 2026 Outback in the touring specific trim can actually get hands off driving assistance. I heard that was just becoming available actually relatively soon right now in 2026, and I would love to get to test that out when we do get that model in for review. But that's pretty cool to see actually. That's relatively a newer thing for Subarus. They don't typically jump early on the bandwagon for these more higher advanced technologies here, but as you can see, you do have to have your hands on the steering wheel at all times. We have a cool little green indicator up there, which will alert you if you are departing a lane. It'll kind of blink orange, and if you are getting too close to a vehicle or thinks you're going to crash, it will blink red. So it has some really clear indicators there, which is nice. The only downside I would say on the highway front, so if you're going to take this thing on like a camping road trip or something, fuel economy isn't particularly amazing. I've been getting around like 18 miles per gallon this week, which is lower than EPA standards actually, or what this car is rated for the EPA. I've seen similar things across some other automotive reviewers who have tested this in their Outback Wilderness. I think that is largely due to all of the off-road goodies this thing is getting, like the higher ride height, as well as, you know, the little bit chunkier rubber and all the boxy shapes you're getting that are enhanced with this Wilderness trim. We might as well test out our upgraded Harman Kardon audio system that we do get in this Outback Wilderness. Pretty good there. And as you can see here, this thing is incredibly sensitive with its eyesight system. This is a torque sensing steering wheel monitoring system here, so you always have to really like kind of input some torque here, even though my hands are on the wheel. But the bass is pretty good. You have a good variability in the bass. Everything sounds very generally clear. Moderately full audio as well, so you're really not missing out too much by not getting this system. But again, I haven't heard the entry-level system for this 2026 Outback yet. I'm just speaking off of some other previous Subaru experiences. I think those will be fine for you, but if you want that, you know, a little bit step up in that higher quality, I think this is a decent system to upgrade to. Really no complaints there in that regard. And we have a giant physical volume knob there, which is quite nice. There are a lot of beeps in this car as well, but definitely check out our full tour review if you haven't for that. Though otherwise, thank you guys for joining us on this POV drive impression here of the 2026 Subaru Outback Wilderness. And as always, stay tuned for more coming on Allcarnews. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.